I've been getting into the Final Fantasy series, as you might already know, because I did some videos on some of the previous games, and when I played, I did enjoy my time with the games. Then here comes Final Fantasy VIII, and this is one of the games I've heard was super divisive. And as you can tell, I did a different video on the magic system. So if you want to see that video, you can go see some of my thoughts on what I thought about that and how I kind of fixed it in a way, at least what I thought was good or a better version of that. But honestly, this game does have some positives and I want to go over that in the video. But I can't say I don't really hate the game, it's just some of the ideas in it don't really work as well as I would have liked. But regardless, let's get into some of the reasons why I liked and disliked this game. And of course, we will start off with the likes. The first thing that stands out to me at least has to be the graphics, and out of all the PS1 era Final Fantasy games, this one looks the best one to me, at least in terms of the models and stuff like that. I do think also the character designs look super good, and to me, this one has to be the most well-designed cast because I think they all look really good. And in terms of the models, this one has a consistent way of presenting them because they all kind of accurate to the human body. Well, in terms of the other ones, they were either really stumpy in the overworld. And in Final Fantasy VII case, they had more accurate models in battle, but for the most part, it was still really chunky. And in 9, again, they also had chibi models. So to me, visually, Final Fantasy VIII looks a lot better. And the models actually look a lot better in the remaster because they did touch them up a lot. But I think regardless of the version you play, I still think the models look pretty good. Another thing I did has to be the Guardian Forces and how each of them are pretty unique. Each has the ability to have different commands and help you buff up different stats. Like for example, Brothers giving you a passive buff to your HP and also giving you the defend command. And something like Diablos can have your encounter rate along with giving you the Mug command. And they also do have their own summon attack, like for example helping you against magic with Callbuckle because that gives you reflect, or just doing different elemental attacks. The GFs are pretty unique and are pretty customizable since it lets you pick what commands and buffs you want in the character. In the case of junctioning, a single GF can't really junction to all stats, so you can put 2 or more to help you junction every single stat that you have. And on top of junctioning, I actually really do like the system. Being able to make your stats better by junctioning magic is a really unique system and can help you get stronger pretty fast. And each magic has the ability to raise up a certain stat higher than others. Like for example, 100 keywords will be way better to your HP stat in comparison to 100 fires. But in some cases you might have to pick fire because say if you have 100 fires and you only have say 10 keywords, it won't really do as much, at least in the case of the keywords. That's another thing I did like. You get to experiment with what spells end up giving you the best bonuses, so you can just pick and choose whatever spell you want for that certain time. Along with that, I also do really like the OST, as all the other Final Fantasy games, or at least the PS1 games. Some tracks I did like was the Battle theme, Find Your Way, the Bound Garden theme, and the Timberwolves, to name a few. One of the things I really didn't like was how slow and boring the battles are, and I did mention this in my Final Fantasy IX video, but the only difference that 8 has is the fact that it's bogged down by some really dumb choices and draw system. This is really bad early game since you don't really have any way to get magic better because some GF's abilities allow you to actually make magic into stronger magic. Like for example, you can make 5 fires into 5 Viagras and stuff like that. And obviously in early game, you don't really have that option. So you have to just grind out the magic, and even in late to mid game, you still have to do that if you want to get a lot of other magic, so it's just really grind heavy. Another thing I really didn't like was how any action you or the enemy takes stopped charging the ball, and to me this is just really annoying because you can sit through a really long attack animation and say if the charge is halfway through for another character, you just have to wait until that one fully goes up. They did fix this in 9 thankfully, because if they did it in 9, it would have made the game a lot longer. And in the case of 8, you do end up having to wait for the draw animation to finish too. So just everything eats up your time in 8 and it kind of just sucks. Another thing I really didn't like was the draw system. I did explain it in my other video on the magic system, but I'm just going to go over here again, and it's just a really big grind. To get anywhere with the junction system, you have to draw a lot of magic, and drawing magic is separate for each character. So if you want to end up using everyone, you have to grind out the same magic for 6 characters. And again, you can work around this by using the Guardian Forces abilities and Tetramaster, but you still have to do it for every single character, and those 6 party members, and honestly again it's just a massive grind. Something else that still irks me about 8 has to be how slow the story is. Within the first few hours of 8, all you really do is your final exam, and you end up helping Dalit from being attacked, and you don't really have a good sense of the big plot until you meet Riona for the second time on the train. I feel like this is kind of bad because you're just stuck just hearing the characters babble on about random stuff, and you don't really have much character development at the start either or have any questions on much, and I just feel that kind of sucks for pacing. I know in 7 you do have a big foe you want to take down and you have questions about Shinra, Cloud's backstory and stuff like that, so I feel like something like that was a little bit better in terms of the start. And I just, again, feel that 8's thing is just really slow at the start, but it does pick up around the later part of disc 1 and especially with disc 2. I still think 8 is extremely flawed in the story, at least from what I've seen, and especially in the gameplay. I don't totally hate the game, but right now it's just very hit and miss with me. I love the graphics, I love the junction system, but it's super grindy, and again, the story is really slow. And on the topic of the grindiness, I think that this is the worst way to deal with the magic system, because again, you just have to spend a lot of unnecessary time getting magic, which in other games it's a lot easier to do with it. But frankly, this game is still pretty unique, especially compared to other Final Fantasy games that I've played, and I'll give it credit there. But before we finish the video, let's go over the likes and dislikes. Likes, great graphics, good handling of Guardian forces, junction system is fun, and great OST. Dislikes, fights are slow, draw system is super grindy, and really slow story. Thank you all for watching, and see you guys later.